The following is a fictitious episode in the lives of two make-believe hobos. The characters and events you hear are not real. Don't freak out.
I'm ready.
Oh, good?
I'm ready.
Okay, me too.
Ready.
Here we go. Greg and Don coming at you in your ears. You're gonna love what we gotta say, but don't go near, stay away far. We're not gonna talk because we don't know who you are, but we have to talk because that's why we're here, making a podcast. Sit in your ears. We're gonna talk about content, sitting in our boxcar, hoping that none of the police find us in our secret tents. That's what we make. Forts, Greg and I do a lot of snorting, but dust, not cocaine, cause we cannot afford that. That is what we have to deal with as two homeless bros in Chicago, boxcar buddies. You know, yeah. That's right. That's what we do. We're boxcar buddies.
Us.
Thank you very much.
Just in our way in.
I think some of this dust is actually laced with some substances because
I think this dust has been accumulating for over 30 plus years.
Yeah. That's this, and we know that because this boxcar right on the side of it, it has a company name which went out of business 30 years ago, and so that's how we know.
Check this out.
Oh, right in the eyes.
This isn't angel dust. This is the devil's dust.
This is demon dust.
Yeah, it's the kind that makes you sneeze.
Oh, look at that. That is neon green, my friend. That is a loud color.
It's like predator blood.
Yes, it is. Taste that. You like that?
No.
Any
it tastes like sickness.
Is it oh yeah. You have had a little bit of a cough. Are you feeling okay?
I'm feeling fine. You know, I haven't been sitting outside in the rain for 3 days straight.
Are you sure?
No. Killer Whale was.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, Killer Whale.
My wrestler friend, my good wrestler friend. We've bonded. We both have one arm and sharp teeth. And
yes.
He's
the guy you're never in the same room with at the same time.
No, we're totally in the same room at the same time.
But there's no witnesses.
It's just that you've never been around while the Killer Whale was doing
his moves.
Sets. He's touring right now.
Oh.
Yeah, he's touring. He's out in California right now. So
okay.
I can't introduce to him yet.
He's on the wrestling circuit.
He's going to be gone for a while.
Sure. So if I were to look up like California wrestling, I would see videos of him. I'll check that out. Well, next time
all you have to do is just Google his name, and you're like, oh wow, there he is, just pile driving into things with his big, hard hand.
Okay, that sounds. I'm going to be at the library tomorrow. I need some stuff to do, and I will definitely look into that. Killer Whale.
But we were outside doing a little like montage training. Like,
like some Rocky IV action.
Yeah, but we did it in the rain, and things got a little icky.
Caught up with you. Well, I mean, that happens. The training is good. I'm glad to see getting out there with Killer Whale. You do look a little trimmer. I think. Yeah, your arms are getting bigger. That's all good. It's all good in health and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I'm really being inflated.
Oh yeah,
not in the pornographic way.
Okay, good. Because I was a little worried there.
I mean, who doesn't love some good inflation porn every now and again? I think that's when air's being escaped.
Oh, yeah, it's being let out of you, I suppose. Unless it is being pumped in with like a little...
it's the sound of the balloon when it's scraping up against a hard, soft surface.
Yeah,
surface?
yeah.
Not service.
Either or, I think.
Or. But it's more like a...
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. Exactly. You can just hear the gas filling the empty space. Yeah, totally.
All the while they're going like, "Oh, Oni-chan."
Yes, obviously. But so what? Anyway, well, Greg, I hope that sniffles clears up though. And like I said, training's good.
I think we'll be just fine for the show. And
good.
If you get it, then hey, we can be the The Medbox buddies.
Yeah, the blow car buddies, which I guess you could probably call us that now. Just sniffing dust off the ground.
I thought that was a Pornhub subsidiary, like the Bang Bus.
Patent pending, I believe. The copyright is still going through on that. But anyway,
instead of being lured into the back seat of a minivan, we bring them into a boxcar.
Yes, full on legit. Yeah, we can actually start doing that then once it goes through.
Yeah.
But when Greg and I can get together, when he's not training and I'm not watching inflation porn, we like to get together into these boxcars in Chicago and talk about different content. That might be movies, music, video games, books, streaming,
life itself,
TV,
events that we've been throughout.
A lot happening in the city of Chicago. A lot happens every day, and as two homeless guys, Greg and I, we have a front row seat every single day to different neighborhoods and what goes on. And when that front row seat lends itself to us experiencing some fictional or nonfiction content, we like to meet up and we like to get in a nice boxcar, hopefully with some fresh dust on the floor, and talk about what we have consumed. And last week, Greg, I revisited an old favorite of mine, a movie directed by one Edgar Wright.
That's one of my favorite directors. Also, Spaced is 19 years old as of this week.
Oh, is that his first?
That's the show that put him on the mark.
Interesting.
I mean, that had Nick Frost and Simon Pegg in it.
The classic trio right there. Those three guys. If any fans of Hot Fuzz, of the Cornetto trilogy, I believe it's called, any of those three movies, you'll be familiar with Edgar Wright or Spaced, as Greg mentioned. But this movie that I revisited was Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Yes.
What a good little ditty.
Starring Michael Cera and let me quickly use your hand because I'm a horrible host here, and I forgot to look up the female lead's name. She is who plays Ramona Flowers.
She played the main scientist in the Thing prequel.
Oh, and she was
Remember that?
And she was in Sky High, I believe.
Oh my God, she was in Sky High.
Yes, so she's been. I noticed upon watching Scott Pilgrim versus the World, I noticed a lot of future Mary Elizabeth Winstead. That's who it is.
It's very hard to remember her just because she has such a long name. She was also in 11 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
I missed that one.
She's the main lead.
She's
next to John
Stamos.
Silver. No,
she's not the
John Goodman.
She's not the creature?
No, she is not the creature.
That would have been something.
It would have been something. I feel like she could have really pulled it off as the monster.
Kind of like, what was that, at the end of Dude, Where's My Car? When it was like a gigantic, who was that? It was...
It was a famous model.
Yeah, she was Shannon Elizabeth, I think. She was from American Pie. It was like a giant version of her.
Was it her? Oh yeah, because all the evil alien babes smushed together.
Yep.
Man, what a fucking bad movie.
Right. But back to a better one.
Back to a legitimately great film.
A wonderful movie. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. As I said, Michael Cera stars, Edgar Wright directs it, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. It's based off the comic books, which features this just after high school guy, Scott Pilgrim, early 20s. He's in a band.
Dorks in Canada.
Right, exactly. Set in Toronto, as they say, up in Toronto. Yeah, we live in Toronto. They do not pronounce that second T. And if you do, you out yourself as a non-local.
Yeah, take that, you filthy American.
Exactly.
Which is what Ramona is. Ramona is a dirty American.
She is, which is why she uses that like dusty desert pathway through his mind.
Her mind's eye.
Because she's dirty. But anyway, it's this interesting movie. The plot is that Scott Pilgrim, Michael Cera, is dating this girl who's in high school, and he has a band. And early in the story, he comes across the path of this Ramona Flowers. She skates through this like one of his dreams, basically, and she's some sort of like a galactic package deliverer, and she
just has this innate ability to be able to cross through dream worlds.
Yes, yeah, right,
which never gets explained in the movie.
No, it doesn't. It
gets explained in the comics to death.
I'm sure. I figured that there was a lot in the comics that they obviously, like it always is with books or comics.
Well, they had to because the movie came out before the final book.
Oh, so they didn't finish up the books before the
books
movie
weren't
came
finished,
out.
But Brian Lee O'Malley did have his hand with Edgar Wright to be like, this is how it's going to end. So you can kind of like Full Metal Alchemist this, or a game, or make up your own thing,
or a Game of Thrones like scenario with George Martin and those guys. Like he didn't finish it, but he let the directors and creators know where it was headed, so they could kind of get there themselves.
Well, he let Edgar do a little bit of what he wanted at the final leg of the story. The rest of it,
It's pretty much off the pages.
It's pretty much exactly off the pages, minus a few things like Knives Chow's dad is more prominent. He's like a major character.
Interesting.
There's way more in depth of the background of each of the boyfriends.
Yeah, that was something I was hoping a little more. I mean, that's one thing I would have, like, it would have been cool if the movie was, like, long enough to have been able to include that, but you're moving through 7 X's in order to get to the last one inside of a movie length, so it's always hard to fulfill all the story background and stuff from adaptations that way. But
in any case, about the movie,
it is so I love it. I love the style of it. It is so it's a wonderful homage to video games, like just gaming overall. Just little audio blips that are in the background of that movie,
like the Final Fantasy bass.
Yeah. Oh,
tunes.
yes, exactly. And sometimes direct line references. Think at the end of the movie in the final fight, or just beforehand, Scott gets an extra life and he gets destroyed and then comes back to life to fight the final guy again. I love the style of the movie. It's the humor and the pacing of it is great. And another thing that I just registered this second time viewing it is how many future superheroes are in the movie, like Chris Evans, for instance, who obviously we know is Captain America now.
His acting career just started.
Absolutely.
I don't even think he was Captain America at that point.
No, he wasn't.
That movie came out 2009, 2010.
I believe 2010. It was definitely around there, like very late 2000s.
Year of college, I think.
Okay, so yeah, like right around then, and he wasn't Captain America yet. He may have been the Human Torch. I don't know about that.
He was the Human Torch.
So there was that.
He definitely
beforehand.
Was the Human Torch. He did 2 movies as the Human Torch.
But also Scott's ex-girlfriend, who plays Envy Adams, the lead singer of another band, and the girlfriend of Brandon Routh, who also played Superman in a different movie.
She's now
Captain Marvel. Brie Larson, exactly. She's
Boyfriend
wonderful.
Number 3 was Superman.
Was Brandon Routh, exactly. He plays the vegan
girlfriend number 5.
Yes,
that is Katara from The Legend of Aang.
I knew it. I knew she played somebody else. I've seen her before, and she was great in this movie too. Her dialogue is like hilarious in this movie. A lot of the quick gags, especially visual gags, like Kieran Culkin does some great things in this. He plays Scott's gay roommate, and there is so much of the banter, so much of the quick camera cuts and like visual gags in the background of this movie are just hilarious. You can watch it 3 or 4 times, and I mean, I myself, I hadn't seen it in a while, and I was just reminded of how much I enjoy this movie. It's packed full of just like really entertaining stuff.
It's a visually stunning movie, but I feel that way with all of Edgar Wright's movies.
Yeah, it's his style very, very much.
It's his style, but he's also able to incorporate like comic books so well into the movie, because there's a lot of times where you see big like poof clouds, words appear out of nowhere. Sometimes the shots are like punches and kicks are elongated to make it look like a comic panel.
Yes, exactly.
It's super wacky and over the top, and it still holds up, which I think is great.
Very impressive, yeah.
And one of the most like charismatic roles from Michael Cera.
Oh, without question.
Because Michael Cera always plays dorky, awkward kids, and that's the way Scott is. But Scott is also, which I don't think it was stated in the movie. It's definitely stated in the comic that Scott Pilgrim is the toughest and best fighter in all of Toronto. Yes, yeah. It's not stated in the movie. It's very like that's a conclusion you kind of get to at the end. You know, after he's fought all the people in the books when he faces the first evil boyfriend, Matthew Patel. Matthew Patel. Oh my God, that was Matthew Patel. Jesus Christ! And he randomly. It's the only part in the movie where someone randomly bursts into song. But oh my God, like that. So great. That never fails to crack me up. I mean, he just comes in. It's hard for me to go back to some of the comics for some of the boyfriends. Like for the first boyfriend, I think the movie nails it. Mm-hmm. 3, I think the comic does it better. Same with Chris Evans' character. Yeah. But so on and so forth, whatever. But in the comics, like when that fight starts and Scott uppercuts the boyfriend like immediately after he shows up, Ramona looks like terrified. She's like, what just happened? And then Wallace and his sister turn around and they're like, don't you know? Scott Pilgrim is the best fighter in the city.
Yeah, and it's like I said, yeah, they don't make it really clear in the movie. It's very much a surprise when all of a sudden, I mean, the way the movie goes up until the first fight, you don't see a lot of like the comic fighting element of it, like in terms of someone bursting through a rooftop and flying at a stage. You don't really see that kind of stuff aside from Ramona.
You don't see that happening in this kind of movie until it happens.
It's such a surprise. And then they're Scott and his band are literally playing like just a show, playing a battle of the bands, and all of a sudden at the end of their set or in the middle of a song, really, something crashes through the roof, and it's this Matthew Patel guy, and he's flying.
Like, you see like the fucking zooms, and it looks like his body's in motion.
Yeah, very much, as you mentioned, comic book panel adaptation stuff. And he's just Superman flying with his fist out right at Scott on the stage. And you don't know what's going to happen. You expect Scott to just get his ass kicked, and all of a sudden he unplugs his guitar and uppercuts the guy right in the face. And then it's like, boom, like Versus. And then it's like a video game screen like Street Fighter. And it's they're taking each other on. And you're like, wow, Scott actually can hold his own here. And then, but as you said, there's no spoken moment where they give you that, like, Scott is the toughest, like, fighter in Toronto.
There are some things with the movie I wish they went into a little bit of detail, but they did have to jam 7 chapters of a huge comic book series into one 2-hour-long movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I wish that they included some stuff like when Scott was dating Kim, like a lot of their history together, Scott's history with Envy,
right?
A lot of the history with all the boyfriends, especially a lot more in depth of Gideon.
That's what I was just going to say also, is that Gideon, the final boss played by Jason Schwartzman.
My God, he fucking nailed it.
He's wonderful. Like, I love Jason Schwartzman. I just think that guy's, like, his style is just so, like, I really like it, and his look and everything. But, so he nails Gideon.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm popping a cough drop.
Another one of your quote-unquote cough drops.
Yeah, I made them and coated them with my own special homemade honey.
Oh, that's why it's got that spiky look to it. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, made it with my own body.
Well, that's cool. That's efficient. I think it'll make you go back to not being sick quickly.
I hope so.
But Jason Schwartzman, back to Scott Pilgrim, he does a great job playing Gideon, but as you mentioned, Greg, they really don't have time to go into a lot of those backstories, and especially with Gideon, who you find out in the second half of the movie is a huge part of Ramona's backstory.
He's the leader of the evil boyfriends.
Yeah.
But he's also the one that Ramona has the most baggage from.
Right, because Ramona's a character who has gone through her life dumping all of her partners. She's been the dumper. Gideon's as you find out in the movie, Gideon is the only person who dumped her. She was obsessed with him, and he pulled away from her. So for Ramona as a character, he is a huge character in her life, and that's who Scott has to go up against, as the movie progresses.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you haven't seen this movie, do yourself a favor and go check it out, like, this weekend, because it is such a joy to watch, whether if you like comedies, if you like Michael Cera, if you like Edgar Wright, video games.
A bunch of fucking nerd pop culture shit before it became, like, mainstream. Because, like, this book, like, mainstreamed, like, nerds, I think.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Because, like, this series came out, like, mid to late 2000s, so like that helped like revolutionize like, oh, nerds are fucking cool, man.
Whoa!
I want to give kisses to nerds.
So are you? Is this partially to blame for a show like Big Bang Theory?
Yes.
Indirectly
well, responsible.
Then fuck you, Edgar Wright. Fuck you, Scott Pilgrim.
Hey, it's not Edgar Wright's fault. It's the movie. It's Brian Lee O'Malley's. Fuck you, Brian. Fuck you.
You did
and
this.
And fuck you for your snot girl. I hate snot girl.
Is that another one of his characters?
That is his newest comic that's out right now.
Oh, good.
I haven't read it, so I don't have an actual like assessment of it.
It sounds gross.
It grosses me out because the cover of every single issue is this green hair girl with a big nasty snot bubble.
Ew, no.
It's every issue.
I don't want
She
to.
either has a drippy nose or she has like a big snot bubble. I hate it.
So she's a toddler. She's every kid out there
looking
that
at
exists.
it. I'm like, I'm sure it's well written because Brian Lee O'Malley has proved time and time and again with all of his other comics that he's a very good writer. Ugh.
But no snot girl. No snot girl for you.
Sorry, I'm awfully snotty right now, and that makes me just think of sickness.
Too close to home. I get it. Sometimes you just don't want to visit stuff. It's too close to home. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But avoid snot girl then. Check out Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Either the comics if you want to read those, but the movie adaptation, 2009 or 2010, around there from Edgar Wright, starring Michael Cera.
It's a solid, great time.
It's 100% worth your time. I mean, it is just it's such a worth it movie to check out. So please do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
what did you do?
What did I do?
What have you been up to besides dancing in the rain with your imaginary friend?
Well, so I haven't really talked about this. This is actually something that I've been working on for the entire month of September.
Really?
I kind of wanted to keep it low because I was like, I want to wait until I'm finished.
Uh-huh.
So I've been periodically showing up at Scummy's house, just popping up, just like, hey, Scummy, let me play your PS4, because he always gets his hands on like the newest shit.
Absolutely.
What he got his hands on is a game that I've actually been very excited for this entire year, Dragon Quest XI.
Ooh, Dragon Quest. I've heard about that series.
So this is the biggest RPG series in Japan.
Wow.
Bigger than Final Fantasy in Japan.
Wow, that's crazy.
Japan is big, like, Final Fantasy is huge throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Western audiences love Final Fantasy. Japan loves Dragon Quest. They love it.
That says something, too, just because of the sheer amount of, like, options for game content that they have over there.
I mean, like, it tugs on all the heartstrings of anyone who ever looks at it, because, like, it's a series that refuses to change. I'd describe the Dragon Quest series as Christianity the game.
Oh, interesting.
Because it refuses to move forward. It's very archaic in its designs and its music and recycled content. Like, when it found something after like 3 or 4 games, it stuck to it.
Right. It just beat you over the head with it.
And it did not change.
Mm-hmm. Was it spread at the point of a sword? Was there a Charlemagne that let the whole world know about Dragon Quest?
Yes, it was Yuji Horii just going like, here I come with the great slime saber of Excalibur.
You will play this or die.
You will play this or I will cut your cockles off and make you swallow them.
Spend the rest of your life in servitude.
But yeah, Dragon Quest XI. It's the latest in the Dragon Quest series, enormous in Japan, and like I said, just does not want to move forward. In Japan, the game has no voiceovers.
What?
It has no voiceovers. The soundtrack is MIDI. It's not orchestrated.
Wow, really?
It's because mainly the main composer for the Dragon Quest series is a huge asshole.
Oh.
And he does not like foreigners of any kind.
Okay.
Yeah, the dude's a huge racist, and he's also a war crime denier.
Oh my god.
This is why I say, like, this game is just Christianity, the game.
Yeah, there's a little bit of overlap.
He denies the rape of Nanking, which is... Yeah.
Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
That's much bigger in Asia than the West.
So how does that lead to the MIDI being, like, the soundtrack?
So I want to get all the bad stuff about 11 out of the way, because I actually have a lot to say that's really good.
Okay.
The soundtrack is awful.
Oh.
It's awful. The compositions, like the main compositions for the overworld and the battle themes and whatnot, they're so bad.
Ugh.
They are impossible to listen to, in my opinion. I do not like them.
Do you mute it? Do you mute the game?
The good thing is, in the settings, you can turn the music off.
Love that. I love that
I've been
setting.
turning the music off because you will hear that obnoxious overworld theme everywhere.
Ugh.
There are boss themes. They're fucking obnoxious.
Really?
Like, it sounds like you're being molested by a clown car with some of them. There's one boss theme that, I kid you not, goes like, bwow, bwow,
oh.
beep, 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 bwow, 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 bwow,
Oh.
beep, 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 beep.
Jesus Christ.
The overworld theme is horrendous. It's this over-the-top, like, bump, 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 bump. Sugiyama, you suck.
Yeah.
Your music's bad, and your opinions are bad.
Yeah.
You're a fucking homophobe and piece of shit.
And it's just so, it's interesting to me because, like, an RPG game, the music is usually a huge element of it for the battles and for just traveling and grinding.
And the problem is Sugiyama has always been credited as one of the most iconic like composers in video games. And to be fair, like the main Dragon Quest theme and a lot of the earlier games, they sound amazing. I'll fight tooth and nail for 8's soundtrack. 8's soundtrack is fantastic. But what helped with that was the Western release of 8 had a full orchestrated soundtrack.
Gotcha.
This game, Sugiyama is very much like, I don't want to fully orchestrate unless I get paid a lot of money for this game because I own the music. Also, every single member of I think it's the Tokyo Symphony Orchestra, who he gets to like help him compose or perform, he wants them all equally paid, almost as much as he does, because he spends extensive amounts on each individual player to get their perfect sound. So you get two options of Sugiyama. You get half-assed MIDI bullshit where 90% of your music is also recycled from previous Dragon Quest games. Ugh. Or you give him a lot of fucking money and he puts the time and effort into everything, but you gotta pay that man.
Yeah, but if you do, he'll presumably you get blown away. And there's the sound.
There is a release of some of the orchestrated soundtrack, and it sounds so much better than the MIDIs. But still, the main compositions themselves, I think, are bad. Like they're not the worst. MIDI form, they're terrible.
Yeah.
They just sound busy. And when it's in MIDI format, the only thing you can ever make out is fucking trumpets.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So that's obnoxious as hell when all you hear is just over-the-top goddamn trumpets and shit.
Yeah, of course. It would make you, like you said, you'd want to go into the settings and shut the music off.
Yeah. The other main complaint I have about this game is it's so slow. Ugh. It's so slow, Don.
But and that's another element, is as you said, an older,
JRPG.
Yes, not evolving or changing itself at all for the modern day. Like I think, as we've mentioned before on the show, one of the nice things about seeing these new ports of classic RPGs is like the option to speed up gameplay when you're traveling and stuff, or fight at like 2 times the speed or whatever.
And then when you look at brand new JRPGs, brand new turn-based RPGs, they purposely make their combat faster.
Absolutely.
Look at Shin Megami Tensei, look at Persona, and look how fast they move for turn-based.
And I think it's because they acknowledge that like nobody's spending the amount of time that I don't
want to spend 30 seconds on watching a guy have his hand glow.
Exactly. That shit adds up. If you're playing the game for hours, like it converts to less time being able to progress and more time just watching these stupid like cutscenes or waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. But it's a tremendously slow game. There are 3 acts. Each of the acts can take you up to 40 hours.
Wow.
I am not finished with Act 3.
Wow.
But I know for the rest of the game, I'm almost at the final boss. So I can safely say I've played enough of this game to give it...
To talk about it.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to finish it for a while, though. Because I got kind of sick of the post-game.
Oh,
I think
really?
the post-game is bad.
Really?
Because it's story-based and it's time travel.
Okay.
So, honestly, if I could describe Dragon Quest XI, it's Final Fantasy VI.
Oh.
So, the first half of the game, it's sunny and bright and everything's cool. Mm-hmm. Second half, the end of the world happened. And the whole thing is you're finding your party members again to take down the big bad. But then the post-game, you time travel. And doing the time travel takes you back to before the world ends. When you do that, you're skipping over every main character's character arcs.
Right. You negate everything that happened.
They're being negated.
Yeah.
So the post-game continues, and there's a point where one of the major characters is played off, like in the first half, to be a villain. So for that character to rejoin your party doesn't feel good as when you did it when the world ended.
Right.
He joined you because he's like, oh shit, I was terrible to you. Let me make this right.
Yeah, he had a character defining moment. A huge event happened and changed his character arc because of that event.
And then you spend 40 hours with this character watching him slowly grow to being like a very like heroic like second in charge.
Mm-hmm.
But then the time travel happens and then he's like, "Oh, I see that things are evil. I guess I should join."
Right.
And you're like, "But you already did."
Yeah, right. I know totally what you mean. That is really frustrating, especially when you spend some amount of time, like 40 hours.
80 hours for the other characters,
right,
too.
And that all that
development gets thrown
cut out. That right there, that is an example of something that I think is one of the quickest and most sure ways to kind of piss off your audience, I think, is when you, like in a movie, when like you spend 2 hours doing this and then at the end, just before the credits, it's like, well, that was all just a dream. Did that really happen? Who knows?
Yeah.
And there you go. All that says to me as a viewer or a player is, well, I just wasted 100 fucking hours. Thank you very much. So like that to me is like, I really hate that. Especially when you talk about a specific character arc like that to completely wipe away a villain turned ally like that. Yeah, that sucks.
There's one tremendously good character arc in this game too. And the time travel stuff happens. And instead of letting this character go through his arc, you fix the problem before it turned bad. So it just happens, and he's like, "Oh wow, thanks."
Right.
Whereas when you did it in the second act, it felt earned because it was like this character was afraid to tell you of his problem because he didn't want to make it about him, and he also has tremendous guilt about what he did.
Yeah. Shame. That's a shame.
Now let's get into the good.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this game is so fun.
Yeah?
It's so fun to play.
That's awesome.
So it's traditional turn-based combat.
Yeah.
You have 8 characters, and they all have their own special set of skills that you can freely customize.
Fun.
So every single character has a character builder, and you get like this big grid where you can like mess around with stuff. Every character is proficient in certain weapons. Mm-hmm. And you can choose which weapon to put points into.
Right.
It's like a big honeycomb. You put points into one skill, then the adjacent skills next to it, you can learn those.
Right.
As long as you have the skill points. You only get skill points for leveling up. Thankfully, it's very easy in this game to level up.
That's good.
There's so much customizing with every single character, and being able to rebuild your character from the ground up anytime you want.
Oh, that's great.
It adds so many layers to strategy. You can do so many things. I rebuilt the character Eric maybe 4 or 5 times early game to switch him up.
Dude, that's an awesome feature.
Because there are so many different ways he can fight. Like, he has 2 weapons, or 3 weapons. He has boomerangs, which can attack all enemies.
Sweet.
Swords, which are really strong, or knives, which can inflict status effects.
Oh, great.
So, and then in the knives skill tree, you can learn dual wield, so you can wear 2 swords.
Hell yeah.
So, messing around with it, either making him a one-handed fighter, a two-handed fighter, making him a boomerang thrower. It's so fun to mess around with that.
And I'm imagining that as you come up against certain enemies, some skill sets lend themselves better to defeating them than others.
Oh, some bosses are ridiculously hard. The beginning of the game, this is like a good and bad thing. It has something called the Draconian Trials. You can only engage these when you start the game. You can't engage them at any other point. And if you decide to turn them off, you can never turn them back on.
Gotcha.
So what they do is add stronger monsters, make it so that you can't flee from fights. You cannot wear armor. So it's like you're completely reliant on your own stats.
So it's like turning on survival mode. It's like flipping it a switch and making the game like a lot harder.
It makes it a lot harder. There's one tree that I don't know how people have done it. It's called Shypox. What this does is it causes you to sometimes lose turns because your character is too shy.
Oh.
It also messes with him story-wise because it makes your main character not able to speak to people because they get real shy.
Totally. It's like Cedric. It's like Cedric down by the waterfront. He doesn't talk to anybody. He's too shy.
But like that at the same time, I'm like, I understand it in battle. Don't make it a story thing where I have to stand in front of my mom who won't let me leave the village until I say goodbye to her, only for me to go up to her and go, you become too shy and you close your mouth.
What the hell? Yeah, that sounds a little bizarre.
This game has, like, I think the best cast of any Dragon Quest game, too. Most Dragon Quest games, like, the characters are very cut and paste. Like, there's almost zero character development for most of them. I think 8 started it. 8 did a really good job because the cast was so small. But 11 gave time to every single main character, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
One of them is your own grandfather, and he has like a really touching, sad moment in the story crying over your mother and father.
Wow. Yeah.
He's like, I failed them. Like, I let them down, and I let you down for so long.
Wow.
It's some really good character stuff.
Touching, yeah.
Eric, like I said, he's the character who had, I think, the strongest motivation from the second act. Like, he caused his sister to get cursed. And it's really good storytelling. The most charismatic character is Sylvando. He is like this over-the-top gay circus boy. I love him.
Yeah.
He calls everyone darling or honey.
Darling.
He's got this Spanish accent, but it's not like over-the-top, like offensive Spanish.
Right.
He's not going, hola, señor, ¿cómo está?
Yeah, just for the sake of it.
You just hear it a little bit. The only time he ever says anything in Spanish is when he talks to his dad. He goes, papi.
Oh, that's nice.
Papi.
That's a nice character thing. I like that.
I love Sylvando. He's also the most fun character to use because he can use 3 different weapons.
Oh, love it.
You can either have him as a sword master, knives, or whips.
Oh, whips? Hell yeah, dude.
And also because he's a circus boy, he has circus abilities. So he's got an all-party heel called the Hustle Dance. He pulls out this massive oboe and sings a song.
Hell yes.
He can juggle, and he throws the balls at the enemies. Sometimes it will confuse them. He also has a deadly kiss, which can cause poison.
He's Poison Ivy. That's amazing.
It's great because him and another character named Jade are characters that are, like, they use charm as a stat, and their charm makes their abilities better, where Jade is, like, the sex appeal, like, sexy lady.
Sure.
Sylvando is just sexy circus boy.
Yeah.
Where, like, all of hers are like, ooh, it charms them, it beguiles them. It makes the enemy monsters fall in love with her and feel that she's all sexy because she has an ability where she can puff up her breasts.
Of course, yeah, of course.
And then it goes to Sylvando, and he sends out a nasty wet kiss and it poisons the enemy.
That sounds great.
I love every single one of the main characters in this game.
How many members can you have in your party during a battle?
So you have 4 party members at a time in battle, and you can freely swap any party member whenever you want. You can even take the main character out, which I love.
Wow.
Because the main characters in Dragon Quest games are fucking boring. They're silent protagonists.
Okay.
They're blank slates.
I gotcha.
But this game tries really hard to make you feel emotional for the character because, like I said, one of your main characters is your actual fraternal grandfather.
Right. So they kind of tell about the main character through the grandfather.
Yeah, and it's a more touching moment for the grandfather because it doesn't apply to me. I don't give a
right.
Every single scene where it's supposed to be a touching moment about, like, the main character's past.
Yeah.
He just has this blank baby face. Yes. Like, if you could see Don's face, that is his exact... It's always this, like, blank, like...
derpy, just super, like, nothing's affecting me at all.
Every single time I see him in, like, the full motion video, like, cutscenes, like, the special, like, overly cinematic, like, Pixar-looking ones.
Yeah.
He has, like, fucking baby face, and I hate looking at it. He's got these dumb little baby teeth.
Ooh.
Like, his teeth look smaller than his mouth. He's got baby teeth.
Right, like I'm picturing the Incredibles baby. Like, literally,
yes.
I picture with, like, a wispy strand of hair in the middle of his otherwise bald head.
Don't expect any kind of emotion other than, like, neutral face and then kind of smile.
So he's a stupid baby.
He's a stupid baby. I hate him. Him and his shy pox.
Okay. Poor guy. He caught shy pox. What are you going to do?
But in any case, this game, it's a huge, sprawling world. It's a huge adventure. And it's just such a good time to play. There's a lot of really fun challenges to do. The Draconian trial challenges makes the game very competent. It makes you really think about the actions you're going to make. There were 2 bosses that utterly fucking destroyed me when I first started playing, and that's when the whole, you gotta, the game really pushes the rebuild your character. It costs money, but it's so little money. To rebuild an entire character, if you have, 300 skill points, it only costs, 1,000 gold.
Okay. I gotcha.
It's not hard.
Yeah. So it's
get used to it.
So it's something you're supposed to do. Clearly,
you're supposed
the game.
To.
Yeah.
Yes. Just fuck around with it. Play around with every single character because they're good at several different things.
Right.
They have weapon traits, and then they have their own character-specific traits. Play around with them. See what you want to play with. See what you think is better for each character.
Right, and then it also sounds to me like that will lend itself well to replayability. Because if you're you play the game with the characters designed one way, you go back and you start it again, it would be like playing it through with a completely different cast.
I think I'm going to disagree on that. Just because, since you can rebuild the character whenever you want... Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what part of the story I'm in. I'm whips weren't working for me, so now I'm doing swords.
Yeah, of course. You don't have to start over again.
Yeah.
But if you played through the game only one way, you could feasibly jazz up your second playthrough by changing it.
With the Draconian trials, you absolutely can. Because, like I said, once you turn the trials off, you cannot turn them back on. And the game without them on, easy.
Yeah, really?
Easy.
Gotcha.
I turned it off for a very little bit, and it got stupid easy. There was one boss that was giving me such a hard time towards the end of Act 2, just wiping the floor with me every single time. I turned off the trial just to see, what the difficulty difference is. Mm-hmm. I was too overleveled.
Oh, wow. So you just destroyed the guy.
I absolutely annihilated him in, 2 or 3 turns.
Right, exactly.
Just fucking destroyed him. Whereas if I had the trial on with the same levels and the same stats, it was tough.
Yeah.
And I like that and I hate that because some of the bosses are too tough. Specifically, there's one boss in the beginning of the game called the Slayer of the Sands. Way too tough. Way too fucking tough with the hard mode on.
Yeah.
Because it can attack 2 times in a row, and its attacks were doing about 300 damage an attack. Mm-hmm. Way more HP than any character had.
Yeah, toward the beginning of the game. Yeah, sure.
No character had a good enough healing spell in order to fully recover a person's health. It's tough.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth it in the end because it makes the game more balanced and you get more out of it. You're not rushing through it. Even though the pacing is really bad with the story.
Yeah.
It's a slow burn. I recommend this game, but take your time. Let it sit in. Don't try and burn through it in a couple weeks.
Gotcha.
Do what I've been doing. Take it real nice and slow. Put in maybe 3 or 4 hours a day. Mm-hmm. If you've got that time.
Right.
And just do it slowly. Because you will get burned out because it's so goddamn long.
Gotcha.
The post game is really repetitive because it makes you redo a lot of boss fights.
Oh, I see.
And that's another reason why I really, really do not like post game.
Yeah.
Or Act 3. Act 3 is not good.
Gotcha.
Whereas Act 1 and Act 2,
good stuff. Okay.
Tasty.
Dragon Quest 11.
Yeah.
That sounds nice.
With my salty Servando.
Oh, yeah. That does sound like a fun character.
My favorite circus boy.
Yeah. Everyone's favorite
circus boy. He's a sexy circus boy.
No,
I kisses.
Yeah, I like that character a lot. A nice compliment to the sexy female character that every RPG has. Yeah.
Especially Dragon Quest, because Dragon Quest games have always pushed the sexy female character. Mm-hmm. 8 did that hardcore. Because Jade, the character Jade, she's the character that has the most costumes in the game. Mm-hmm. Every character has costumes. Jade has all the sexy ones.
Yeah.
So she's got hot bikini and schoolgirl.
Sure.
Basically fetishes.
Yeah.
And then Sylvando is like, I'm a big gay fun dude.
Hello.
I'm lovable in every way. Because not only am I charismatic and fun to be around, I'm also very gentle and loving and a good person.
Yes. Try my poison kiss.
Here comes my poison kiss.
So yeah, if you got the time, take your time with it, but Dragon Quest XI sounds like a hell of a journey.
It's a great time.
Cool. Well then, instead of jumping into the treasure trove of messages this week, Greg and I both wanted to talk about something that we watched separately.
But something that we enjoy watching.
Very much. We have talked about the show. It's a Netflix original show, BoJack Horseman. And
The Sad Horse Show.
The Sad Horse Show. It's about depression, and it's great. And they recently, just last week from when we're recording this, they released the 5th season. And 12 episodes, right classic, the same style that it's been, same format. But this season...
Broken down exactly the same as any other BoJack Horseman season 2, where
absolutely.
You always know that the second to last episode is always the, whoa episode.
Yeah, the penultimate one is definitely the one with all, the rug being pulled out from under you, or the crazy plot directions.
The heaviest character development stuff happens.
Mm-hmm. And of course, just like the other seasons, there are the concept episodes. We've talked about the underwater one from, I believe it was season 3 or 4.
It was season 3.
Season 3, which is the one where at that time it's an animated show and there was no dialogue until one line at the very end. That was the concept episode, a risk taken by this animated show for that season. In this season, season 5, Episode 6, BoJack delivers a eulogy to his dead mother, and it is a 23-minute monologue done by Will Arnett. Wonderfully done.
Extremely powerful.
I have to say, in my opinion, I like Will Arnett just fine, and he's gotten plenty of work over the last 10 years. I've watched him, do a lot of stuff. It's crazy to me that he does not have an Emmy. It's crazy to me, and I think
he should have earned an Emmy from the earlier seasons. I think season 2 should have earned him something,
without question.
Especially after he performed his scene as Secretariat, and he goes outside to take a drag of a cigarette, and you see him get really calm for a second, only for him to break down and cry.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes, exactly. That's another good one. But this, if you didn't believe that, or if you didn't agree with anything like that, I just think that any question of him being an Emmy deserving actor, to me, there is no more question about it, because after this eulogy episode in season 5, it felt like a one-man show on stage. It felt like watching a play.
Well, it was very much written like one, because it tries to make it like a stand-up set.
Yeah, and also there's only 2 camera shots. They go between him at the podium, and then they would cut and show him at the podium looking at the casket. And those are the only 2 shots that they transition between the entire episode.
Well, there are a couple points where they do close-ups of his face, but for the most part, It's essentially, it's a monologue.
It's a one-man show. It's a 22-minute monologue.
It's like watching an actor audition monologue.
Yeah, and then
it's extremely powerful.
Yeah, it does. He touches on a lot of things, and just like a well-written monologue, it weaves between sort of rambling or whatever, and then all of a sudden it punches you with some very real emotion and some. He's speaking to his dead mother. There's some very real stuff in there, and then at the very end of the episode, the camera turns and you see there is an audience in there actually, and then they do a one-liner, sort of a joke, like they did at the end of the underwater one.
They have to end it on a joke.
Yes, it's a light note. That's the way that the comedy goes. But so that was one episode. They did another one where it was the events of the events of that episode were recounted through 2 new characters. One of them was Wanda Sykes. I know that.
It's Wanda Sykes and her. I think it's her life
partner.
I think it's her real life partner.
I thought it might have been, but I wasn't sure. I didn't look into it. But anyway, one of them's a therapist, the other one's like a mediator, and so they're not allowed to mention their real names of people. And so
it's just watching all the main characters of BoJack Horseman being told as
differently. Like for instance, BoJack becomes Bobo the angsty zebra, and they change
and Princess Carolyn is a walking ball of
energy or whatever. Yeah, Todd dad is something finger face. He's like
he's
human
just a man
with
with a human hand.
A hand is his face. And then Mr. Peanut Butter becomes Mr. Hazelnut Chocolate Spread or something. Yeah. It was really funny. And they took it to such a degree that they even changed the opening credits. Like the music is the same, but
BoJack is now Bobo.
Is a zebra. And all the background stuff in his house, his pictures reflect him as the zebra of Bobo. It's very, so just those are the depths to which they like go to. The background gags, as always in this show, there's so much visual comedy there. It's the kind of show that you end up pausing to so that you can see all the stuff in the background.
30 billion fucking puns in every single screen.
Always. One of my favorite from this season was they showed the name of a store, a bail bonds store, and it was named Marmoset There'll Be Days Like This. And I was cracking up. It's stuff like that. But so if
it's the ultimate dad humor.
It really is. There's so many animal puns, there's so many dad jokes. But if you like BoJack Horseman, Greg, I felt this season there are still plenty of laugh out loud moments. There's still definitely humor, but it felt like they were making an effort this season to really throw some emotional stuff at you. The jokes are there, but it's potent emotional stuff that happens.
This season's theme was really digging in to make sure that the audience knows that BoJack is a bad person.
Right.
BoJack is broken. He's a victim of abuse. He's had a horrible life.
Yeah.
He has had a horrible life given to him by his parents. But that does not excuse the actions he's made, and the show makes sure for the audience to know, like, the whole theme, like, it goes into BoJack's new TV show he's doing, that BoJack is just awful. And even though he's admitted how bad of a person he is, he thinks because people like him for being a bad person, that makes it okay.
It's excusable. He thinks that his personality and his stardom excuses the actions that he takes, as you said. And this season really, as we mentioned toward the end, the penultimate episode and the final one, they make sure there are consequences to what happens with BoJack. I mean, this time it's like, BoJack always felt bad in the seasons past, but like he always moves past it. He gets this great show that he's working on in season 5. Like his life, aside from his own sort of dealing with those demons, the reality for him isn't really changed all that much. And in this season, it is.
And this season really makes sure to really dig into BoJack of the awful things he's done in the previous seasons. Sarah Lynn, his sister,
Charlotte and her daughter,
even Todd, like his relationship with all these characters,
Princess Carolyn too,
especially Princess Carolyn, and especially Diane. Diane is given probably her most serious role this season. Same with Mr. Peanut Butter.
Yes, I agree.
It goes very deep into each character, and I think that's profound. Like, I adore this show. I talked about season 4 when we first started the show and how much I adore this show. It's deeply gripping, and it's one of the most real good depictions of depression.
They nail it, and especially, I mean, all the, BoJack and Diane especially are the two that struggle with it the most. But like, to show non-comedically, I mean, there's a lot of comedy around this show, but to show you the very real life gripping consequences of what it's like for someone to deal with depression. It's like you think they're past it, all of a sudden they're acting like an adult and it's all good, and then they have an episode and they break down and they take 3 steps back. And that is the element of it. It's part of one of the many things about it that BoJack does so well. It's a wonderful, I mean, it's an accurate depiction of depression, and they don't always, turn the lights on and make you laugh at the end of it, sort of just sweeping all the rough shit under the rug. When it gets
very deep, it refuses to lay in to a joke. Like, I know we talked about like how the monologue episode ends with a joke, but at the same time, that whole episode is littered with jokes, even in the seriousness.
Yes.
But it's every single season. It's always it's either episode 11 or episode 12 of every season that is the heaviest. Mm-hmm. It's always the heaviest. And it's the most psychedelic. I mean, that's what turned me on to the show, because I thought the first season was super weak, until the second half.
Yeah.
And then that psychedelic, like, drug trip episode happens.
Absolutely.
And that made me fall in love with the show.
Agreed. It was very unique. And they, again, as we said, you know, however you want to define them, a concept episode, I don't even like saying that anymore because that's every single season of BoJack, they have one of those. So it's like part of their,
it's
they do.
It's constantly inventing itself. It's constantly putting in new, different scenarios. But one thing I've been noticing is the trend is, again, the psychedelic episode. But at the end of every season, BoJack always feels better about himself through some way, only for him to fuck it up.
Yes.
The previous season, the end of season 3 and beginning of season 4, I thought that real change was going to happen with BoJack.
Yeah, is that the one where he was starting to run?
That's when he stopped in front of the track of wild horses.
That's right. Yeah.
And I thought that real change was happening to him. But then once again, we get this season and it looks like he's not changed. And this season really pulls into the you have not changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the trailer for this season is just Diane constantly saying, you keep saying that you want to change. And I'm happy that the show is finally addressing that. It was looping BoJack's character development,
mm-hmm.
and it makes perfect sense. It's just such a brilliantly written show.
Yes.
With amazing performances from everyone. Like, seeing Paul F. Tompkins, like, do something serious,
mm-hmm.
even though he's goofy Mr. Peanut Butter, just throws a lot of weight into how good of an actor he is. Same with Alison Brie.
Absolutely, Alison Brie does a wonderful job. As always in BoJack, there's a lot of great cameos. Whoopi Goldberg was in an episode of this season. There's a lot of good stuff in there. There's one I'm blanking on now. It was like toward the end of season 5. Oh, Ken Jeong. Ken Jeong was in another one too. But like, so there's a lot of great cameos in there. But as you mentioned earlier, the delving into the background of not just Diane, but specifically Mr. Peanut Butter. There's an episode where we get it's a Halloween episode, and the episode,
it's a breakup of every single one of his relationships.
Yes, and it's 4 different timelines, and the episode weaves between them, and you get a lot of background of Mr. Peanut Butter and what his relationships were like. And I think it's the most, at least for me, it was the most I've ever understood Mr. Peanut Butter, and the way that things go from there it's really, really great. So if you like BoJack Horseman, if you haven't checked out the series on Netflix, and you like animated comedies, or you like, goofy dad jokes, you like, personification of animals, or you like
a world where there are animals all over the place, and a show to have a season about a show that is full of really odd things, like you don't understand why they're animals but also pets.
Yeah, right. It's unexpected, a weird, janky world, like with weird pieces meshed together, but it's very unique. And as Greg and I have kind of mentioned here, the way it depicts depression is real and compelling. And
it doesn't make a joke out of it.
No.
It treats it very seriously.
And it's not easy for sitcoms to do that. It's not easy, or animated show. It's not easy for a show that is supposed to be a comedy. It is a risk for a show to linger on those kinds of dark aspects of life. And BoJack does it, and it does it very well. So if any of that sounds appealing, do check it out. It's worth your time.
So we got 3 glowing recommendations this week. We've got Scott Pilgrim versus the World, a great movie. Dragon Quest XI, a slow burn, but worth it. And BoJack Horseman, a continuation of a fantastic TV series.
Yes, Netflix. It's one of their, in my opinion,
it's like their flagship, like, adult animated show.
Yeah, for original content, that is, BoJack is right at the top for them. I think that's definitely worth it. So yeah, any of those things this weekend, do yourself a favor and check one of those out. It's you'll be happy you did.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm not happy I did?
What?
Hood.
In the rain. Oh, buddy. Oh, there it is again. You're snot girl. Now you're snot girl.
No.
You didn't want it, and now here you are.
I'm like the Predator bleeding.
Oh yeah, a little
bit.
Let's
find a boy with Asperger's so I can steal his brain.
On the spectrum. Hey, anybody out there have Asperger's? No, I'm not talking about how well you wipe. Do you have the disease?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Nobody
out here right
no.
now. But
Shane Black probably has it.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
Let's make sure to really rub that in.
Mr. Black, seek help. Seek help for your spectrum disease.
I know we gave a glowing review of that movie last week.
Great job on the movie.
But I kept thinking about it more and more, and I'm like, boy, the plot had the predators try and kidnap a small boy with Asperger's so they could steal his Asperger's.
Yep.
They weaponized Asperger's.
He really may have. That was the secret goal of the movie.
It took me a slow week, but I kept thinking about it like, I like the rest of this movie.
But I think Mr. Black
But that's stupid.
Yeah. Think
about that again. Say it out loud. Weaponized Asperger's.
It sounds not delicious at all. It doesn't sound tasty at all.
Being turned into a warhead.
Mm-hmm. And the predators are after it. They came to this planet looking for that.
They hunger it.
Medium well, please.
Please, I like my medium rare. I like my boys with legitimate, terrible fucking mental diseases into my DNA.
That's right.
That way I can become even better predator.
Yes, and be awkward at every party I go to. So yeah, we're going to be looking for that, and you should look for one of those that we recommended.
You should look for the other 3 things that we recommended this week.
In the meantime, I'm going to take Greg and get a neti pot for him because that's really starting to coat the outside of the face there. and then
I'm just dripping everywhere.
Oh yeah, I see it. Boy, that's really wow. It's really coming out of you now. It's like a faucet. Someone turned a faucet on. Oh gosh. Okay, here, let's here. Why don't you stuff something up in there? There you go. That's better. Looks
all
good.
Right.
Looks good.
I sound like Chucky Finster.
That's okay. We're just gonna go down the street to the CVS.
This is fun.
Just don't do that when we get up there. Marv, the cashier guy, he really doesn't like that.
I don't know. I think it'd be perfectly fine.
Okay. All right.
This sucks so
all right. Well,
much.
let's give it a shot. Thank you again for tuning in. We always appreciate it. I'm Don.
I'm Greg.
And we will talk next week. Thanks.
See you later, nerds. I'm gonna go get my D&D set.
You already have 3.
I need another one. I need the monster manual. I want to play Kenku.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. We can get
That's
that.
those crow people.
Did you say people or meeple?
I said people.
Okay. All right, I got you. Yeah, we can do that.
I have a stuffy nose. I'm not deaf.
Are you sure?
I mean, I'm kind of losing my hearing because of all the pressure building up in my ears.
Yeah, it looks like your head's actually getting a little bigger.
Oh god, it feels like it's getting bigger. I have the Alex Jones of heads.
This is starting to get cartoony. You want to start spouting some conspiracy theories and piss people off?
Did you know that the predators are coming down to this planet so they can get their hands on our mental disorders?
No way!
The cloud people are coming down to take away our asthma.
Do you have any products I could buy from you that might protect me from this
this
invasion?
is an estrogen-free power pill that contains nothing but soy.
Oh.
A product that is comprised entirely of estrogen.
Wow. Thank you. How much? How much for the bottle?
$350 plus tax.
Okay.
Also make sure to send some money to my friend, Paul Joseph Watson, our favorite Englishman.
Okay.
That's me. Paul Joseph Watson.
Hi, Paul. Yeah, I didn't know you were on the show today.
Internet culture is being ruined by the day by liberals and SJWs.
Oh boy, I didn't know.
Did you know that conservatism is now the new counterculture?
Counterculture? That sounds cool.
Yes. It counterattacks culture.
Oh, well, of course, because culture's always attacking
anarchy.
us.
Well, with good Christian morals.
Oh.
And saying Merry Christmas at Starbucks.
I have those, and I do that.
Good. That means you've been properly red-pilled.
Oh, I did take that red pill.
You shouldn't have trusted Morpheus.
Oh, shit. Fuck off!
Eat a dick, Morpheus. Morpheus, Orpheus, walruses.
Is that why your name's Morpheus? Because you want more dick for yours?
Fill my orifices.
Good boy.
What you just heard was a fantasy, a fiction cooked up for your amusement and the catharsis of the hosts. Please have mercy on them.